Parfums de Marly Darley. I bought this about a year ago, and after putting a dent to it and using it for different occasions, it's time for me to share my thoughts on it. I could probably count on one hand how many times I've seen someone mention Darley in my comments. Sadly, Leighton, Halton, and pretty much all of the other Parfums de Marly fragrances are often mentioned in my comments, but Darley almost never. I could be wrong, but it definitely feels like it's a scent that's overlooked. So before I head into what Darley smells like, let's take a look at the notes of Darley and compare them with the notes of Gaultier Le Male. As you can see, they are very similar, and when you smell it, there's absolutely no doubt Darley was inspired by Le Male. Let me know in the comments if you want me to do a full-on comparison of the two. So this is a review of Darley and not a comparison of Darley and Le Male, but there are definitely some similarities and also some differences, and I will touch on some of them in this video. So before I begin, if you absolutely love smelling good, then please consider subscribing. I basically upload every single day and you will smell good for sure. And a like on this video is highly appreciated. So what does Parfums de Marlys Darley smell like? This hits you straight away with a minty and lemony kind of fresh opening. Darley in the opening is intensely bright and fresh, but with a smoothness to it, and to me at least, there's absolutely nothing sort of sharp to that initial dose of freshness. This is like bright, minty cooling with smooth citrusy freshness. And behind that refreshing and sort of a cooling duo, there's an aromatic side that just grows stronger and stronger by the minute. And in just a few minutes, Darley turns into a beautiful mix of a prominent dose of lavender with a minty and citrusy freshness. There's a slight hint of spicy warmth to the opening as well, but to me the cinnamon takes a backseat to pretty much everything else. If you smell Le Male from Gaultier, then you will definitely recognize some of it here. Strong Le Male vibes for sure in the opening. The lavender here is not overly intense and bright, and while I absolutely love super intense lavender, this has sort of a smoothness to it that I really like. While its minty and citrusy freshness shines more in the opening, the lavender becomes more and more prominent as it heads into the mids. The mids is where the freshness changes from being more minty and citrusy to something that sort of feels a bit floral fresh, with what to me is a light kind of rose with a bit of that orange blossom. Rose can often take a fragrance in a sort of a feminine direction, but this to me is not that. It's more of a fresh and sort of a light floral touch that sits behind Darley's more prominent aromatic side. As it dries down, it changes once again, and to me becomes this primarily smooth woody scent with an ambery warmth around it and a soft vanilla in the background. The dry down is a bit creamy with an almost airy kind of feel to it, and it's slightly powdery. Once again, let me know in the comments if you want me to do a comparison or like a battle between Gaultier Le Male and Parfums de Marly Darley. But the mids and the dry down is where I feel the main differences are. Darley has that rosy touch in the mids, which I don't get in Le Male, and whereas Le Male is dominated by the combo of vanilla and lavender, this is more dominated by the combo of lavender and soft woodiness. Le Male's vibe is more playful and flirty, whereas this has a more classy, sophisticated, and sort of an elegant feel to it. Darley is like Le Male, dressed to the nines, and flirting with you in such a discreet and subtle way that you almost don't realize you're being flirted with, whereas Le Male goes sort of all in with a wink and a big smile. So how do I feel when I wear Darley? This is definitely a classy and elegant kind of scent, but I also feel it has a bit of sexiness to it. Underneath is sort of a sophisticated vibe. There's definitely a bit of sexiness coming through. So what about compliments and reactions from others? This isn't quite the compliment getter that Le Male is, but I have not met anyone who doesn't like it. It's a very soft and likable scent, and it's a compliment getter, but it needs to be sprayed properly for that to happen, unless someone is really close to you. Which leads me to its performance. I would not say Darley is a weak one, but it's not a strong fragrance. Longevity is definitely good, and it does last quite a while on my skin, but projection is about average. You'll most likely get an okay-ish, but not big scent cloud with about 5 sprays. But I do recommend spraying more, especially if you are going out and want a more sort of a noticeable scent cloud. I usually go with at least 8 sprays when going out, because the projection does count down quite a bit after a couple of hours. So good longevity, about average projection, and more sprays are definitely recommended if you're going out and want a more noticeable scent cloud. So when should you use Darley? Darley is primarily an aromatic and woody scent, and its scent profile is one that has this sort of a smoothness, a softness to it. To me, it's quite versatile in that I feel it can be used throughout all seasons and to pretty much any occasion. For indoor use, definitely enjoy it throughout the year. For outdoor use, and this is mostly because of its sort of a softness and smoothness, I do feel it leans slightly more towards spring, summer, and sort of early fall with a focus on summer. It's not as fresh as can be though, so if I want something very fresh, I'd go with something else, and it would not be my first choice for the gym. For occasions, pretty much any other time than the gym. So work, going out, when you're grabbing a coffee or whatever. So who's this fragrance for? If you like La Malle, then you will probably enjoy Darley as well. But of course, there's a chance you won't. And if you turn that around, same thing. If you don't enjoy La Malle, you might not enjoy Darley. But with that said, since Darley puts less focus on vanilla and instead goes in a more woody direction, and since it's softer with less sweetness, it's probably perfect for someone who sort of likes La Malle, but wants La Malle in a sort of a toned down way with a twist to it. I think you do need to enjoy minty freshness because Darley has that in the opening. I also feel it's almost a must for you to enjoy the scent of lavender, because Darley has a prominent dose of it. I think its smooth woody dry down is very likable. But if you usually don't enjoy woody scents, then this is probably not for you. And if you only buy beast mode super strong fragrances, then this is definitely not for you because it's not a super strong scent. So what are some of the alternatives to Darley? The most obvious alternative is of course La Malle. It's a bit sweeter, it puts focus on Gaultier's sort of a signature vanilla with a dose of lavender, and it's not as woody intense as Darley. But there are definitely some similarities and it's an alternative for sure. Now, staying in that sort of area with a focus on lavender and vanilla, we have Prada Luna Rosa Sport. It doesn't have Darley's freshness, it's a bit more sweet and it's not woody, but it's a great fusion of lavender and vanilla. So part of Darley's mix is that floral freshness, which has a bit of orange blossom in it. And going in a sort of a different direction, we have YSL Myself. Myself is very much about the fusion of freshness, orange blossom, and a soft woody base. So while it doesn't have lavender, the orange blossom in Darley made me think of it. If you want a more intense dose of freshness, more focus on orange blossom with a bit of woodiness, then Myself is a great one. Going in a different direction, but one that puts focus on the combo of mint and lavender, we have the fantastic Paco Rabanne Invictus Platinum. It's not the same as Darley, but if you love the combo of lavender and mint, then it's a good one for sure. While the ones I mentioned are not the same, they are alternatives that I think are amazing. Out of the ones I mentioned, La Malle is definitely the one with the most similarities. Let's talk about price. I bought this last year during a sale, so I got it a bit cheaper, and it usually retails for a bit above 200 bucks. But I often see it at discounters for cheaper than that. So if you are curious on Darley, make sure you check out different discounters so that you don't pay full retail. So how am I going to rate Parfums de Marly Darley? So what we have here is an aromatic and woody scent with a fresh opening and a touch of florals. Parts of it do smell familiar, and it's definitely, without a single doubt, a scent that's inspired by La Malle, which I think is fantastic. It's basically La Malle gone niche, and the vibe being less sort of a playful and flirty, and instead more sort of a elegant and sophisticated. I like it a lot, and I do think it's quite underrated, but I do not think it's a masterpiece. I'm going to give Parfums de Marly Darley 8 or 8.5, something around that. So I would love to know how you feel about Parfums de Marly Darley and how you would rate it from 1 to 10, so make sure you comment. Like this video, I really appreciate it. Make sure you hit that subscribe, make sure you check out the videos over there, and I'll see you in the next one.